Hi there, and welcome to this look at the November weather prospects. We are now reaching a time of the year when people begin to think about the possibility of snow. Now, whilst I'm not expecting to see scenes like this one out of my window here in the Chilterns, I think there is the possibility of an early taste of winter this year. Now, I'll explain why that is the case later in this video. Incidentally, if you're wondering, I took this photo in Finland last winter. Okay, so I'm going to start off by taking a look at the forecast pressure sequence across the North Atlantic for the next 10 days or so. Here we are. So this starts on Monday the 2nd of November. It's generated using data from the GFS model, which stands for the Global Forecast System. You can see at the moment the UK in the centre of the plot is under a vigorous Atlantic flow. We've got low pressure centred to the north and high pressure areas centred to basically to the south. So I'm going to initiate the sequence and we'll see what happens during the next few days. So I'll pause it there, which is nicely at 18 GMT on Thursday 5th of November, so bonfire night. And there is a big difference, big change takes place by then. We've got an area of high pressure centred close to the UK, so we're going to be losing this Atlantic flow which we've had for quite some time now. It means the weather's going to turn a lot drier, more settled and calmer. And at this time of year with the long nights, it also means there's an increase in risk of frost and fog. Okay, I'll start the animation again and I will pause it just here. This is for Sunday the 8th of November, and what we can see by then is that the area of high pressure has pulled away eastwards and it's centred over continental Europe, and we've got areas of low pressure beginning to push up from the southwest, and they do bring an increase in risk of rain through this period, especially to southern and western parts of the UK. But there is some uncertainty about just how much they will influence our weather and how widespread the rain risk will become. Okay, if I play the animation through to its end, what we can see by Wednesday the 11th of November is that high pressure has built northeastwards and is centred over Scandinavia. We've still got areas of low pressure out in the Atlantic, and by then most of the UK should be dry. It's a fairly mild flow, so temperatures probably into the low, possibly even mid-teens in parts of southern England during the days. But as I say, a mainly dry picture. Now let's take a look at the ensemble plots to see what could happen during the middle part of November. This one is for London, and across the horizontal axis we have the date. So it goes out until the 17th of November. On the other half of the plot, we've got temperatures forecast at the 850 HPA level. That's approximately 1,500 metres above sea level. And the thing to focus on here is that in the short term, we see some rather cold air moving over us. And the black line there indicates a 30-year average. So we can see we're dipping below it in the short term this week. And then after bonfire night, through the second week of the month, we see the forecast is for 850 HPA temperatures to rise significantly. Again, they become well above the 30-year average, so it looks like turning milder as we go through the second week of November. And then towards the end of the forecast period here, from about the 12th, 13th onwards, they do taper away again back towards the norm for the time of the year. On the lower half of the plot, we've got rainfall. We can see in the short term it does become mostly dry. The rainfall spikes that we have initially here, they fade away. By the 5th of November, there's nothing showing there. It's completely dry according to all of the runs in the ensemble model. That situation really continues for the following few days, but by about the 8th of November, the chance of rain does begin to increase a little. It doesn't look wet at all, but as I say, there are some rainfall spikes appearing here, which do at least indicate some of the computer model runs are showing rain for the London area during effectively from about the 9th of November onwards. but most of them are probably keeping a fairly dry picture during that period. If I just flip across to comparable chart for Plymouth in the southwest of the UK, the reason I wanted to use this one today was because I think we are going to see a greater risk of rain during the middle third of November, particularly during the second week of the month, in the west and southwest and the northwest of the country. And this is really shown quite well on the plot here. We can see there are more rainfall spikes appearing from about the 7th of November onwards than there were on the London chart. I'll quickly show the Glasgow one. Again, it really highlights the same thing. A greater risk of rain in the northwest of the UK during the middle third of November than there is in the southeast. So that seems to fit in quite well with the general pattern which I've been discussing. Now, another way of looking at this data is to use the postage stamp charts, as they are known. What they show is the forecast variable from each individual run in the ensemble model for a given time. This is a plot for Tuesday the 17th of November at 18 GMT, and it's showing 850 HPA temperatures once again. On this, it's quite difficult to see because the individual stamps are pretty small, but the UK is in the centre of the plot in each of these individual frames. Now, cold upper level air is indicated by deep blues and purples. Warm or mild upper level air is indicated by yellows and oranges, with greens and light blues really indicating close to average. Now, I'll just try and scroll down this so that hopefully you can see. On the initial row here, we can see this one here, number 2, the one in the middle, does have deeper blue shading over the UK, which indicates colder air. This one does to a certain extent as well. There's a little patch of darker blue over Scotland, but the others are a green or light blue. Now, I'll scroll down so that you can see the rest of the individual plots, and hopefully you'll be able to see that most of them have greens or of light blue shading over the UK. One or two do, as I say, have the deeper blue indicating the colder air, but most of them don't. There are 30 individual plots in the ensemble. You can see the other ones here, and again these last few mostly showing close to average upper air temperatures. And as I say, this is the forecast for 18 GMT on Tuesday the 17th of November. So it does fit in quite nicely with what I was talking about, fairly average conditions during this part of the month. Now, at the start of this video, I talked about the possibility of an early taste of winter this year, and I said I would explain the reasoning for suggesting it. Well, the background to it is that this year in the equatorial Pacific, we've got a La Nina event taking place. I'm not going to explain what that means other than to say that it does tend to increase the chance of early cold snaps in the UK. By early, I'm talking about during the late autumn or the early part of the winter. So what we can do is take that factor into account and also look at some of the longer range computer model output. Now, this chart here is for London and it goes out to 35 days. It's also from the GEFS model, so it's really showing a similar set of data in a slightly different way to the 16-day ones, but obviously going out further. So what we can see here is again the 850 HPA forecast temperatures. If we take it forward from around about the 17th of November, which is somewhere around here in the middle of the plot, that's where the last chart finished, and take it forward through the rest of the month and into early December, what we can see is the mean, which is shown by the purple line there, dips towards the 30-year average, and then in the last days of November it falls below the 30-year average, indicating the likelihood of colder conditions. So this pattern has been shown on recent updates fairly consistently. It's still an awfully long way off, of course, and the reliability in computer models at this range for the UK is pretty low, as I've said many times in the past. If I just take a look at the comparable plot for Glasgow, what we can see is a similar pattern, but the temperature dip is significantly more pronounced there. It's a lot clearer. We can see the mean falling below the 30-year average in late November and continuing there through the early part of December. So there are some tentative signs of it turning colder on those two charts. Now, if I quickly show you the weekly 850 HPA temperature anomaly charts, this one is for the week beginning Sunday, the 22nd of November. I've circled the UK so that you can see it more clearly. By then, there isn't really a temperature anomaly across the UK. It's looking pretty average taken through the week as a whole. If anything, it's a little bit colder in the northwest. You can perhaps see the slight blue shading here over Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, and a little bit milder compared to the average in southern Wales and southwestern England. But I'll finish off by showing you the forecast 850 HPA temperature anomaly chart for the week beginning Sunday, the 29th of November. And what you can see here is that virtually the whole of Europe is covered by blue shading, which is suggesting temperatures at the 850 HPA level will be below the 30-year average. And I think at this range it is quite unusual to see a consistent signal like this covering such a big area. So although, as I say, the forecast accuracy at this range of computer models is still very, very low, I would suggest that given the background La Nina conditions, it is worth paying some attention to this chart. It could be on the money, but obviously we'll have to see as we go through November whether that turns out to be the case or not. So to summarise, in the short term it's set to turn drier as high pressure builds initially across the UK, and that leads to an increase in risk of frost and fog. During the second week of November, high pressure probably pulls away into continental Europe, and areas of low pressure may begin to push up from the southwest or from the west, and in turn that suggests that central and eastern parts of the UK probably remain mainly dry, but there is a greater risk of rain in the southwest and the west. After the middle part of the month, we can probably expect temperatures to be fairly close to the seasonal average, with the driest conditions remaining in the east and a greater risk of rain in the west. And then towards the very end of the month, we may see a transition to colder weather, and of course that possibly leads to an increase in risk of sleet or snow, particularly in the north of UK. So there we have it. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the subscribe button below, and then you'll be notified of future updates as I publish them. Thanks a lot now. Bye.